Hello, I'm Mantastic and Fantastic, and today I am doing a rank 700 box tour along with all my future pad goals and discussing what I've accomplished over these past 100 ranks. So, I hit rank 700, and before I just jump right into the box tour, I just want to give you some perspective of just how much lifetime experience rank 700 is. So basically this screenshot was taken right after I ranked up. It's approximately 286,500,000 rank experience. So in order to achieve around rank 700, you need to complete either 4,659 Monday dungeons or just over 2,000 of dual Ganeshas. That's 2,367 special descend rushes if you're farming SDRs, only 1,701 super ultimate dragon rushes, and for those who remember farming Tower of Giants, Dragons of the Tower, it would take 191,000 clears to achieve rank 700. So this is definitely a lot of lifetime experience. Like, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, and this whole journey actually took me almost 1,200 days. I'm on my 1,187th day or so. So I have been playing pad for a very long time. I like to tell people I'm pretty gung-ho about this game, and it probably does reflect in both my work and the dedication to continuously playing for this long period of time. So in terms of box tour, I might as well just start. So we are going to go look at, let's say, plus eggs, because that's kind of an important issue. And for myself, I actually don't even have many of the Maniac quests unlocked. I don't have enough plus eggs to get 100 and 100 297s, and I have nowhere near enough Tomadras. I'm like 800 Tomadras or 700 Tomadras away from the plus 15% attack badge. So this is largely attributed to the fact that I've played mostly Arena 3 since rank 610-ish, basically till now. So I've primarily ranked up via Arena 3, so I don't actually achieve any of the various quest rewards. There's no reward for completing Arena 3 many times, unfortunately. So let's just take a look at where all my pluses lie. So I have that 297 Shiva, and it's mostly because sometimes I occasionally play a Pancake and she has Shiva. It's usually done, say, like when we're playing, say, Miru Descendant, so it doesn't matter what his level is, so it's like the only 297 that actually isn't max level, so it looks a little odd, and of course it's the first one you see. I am kind of blessed with lots of Tsubakis, so I've made 2 of them Dragon Killer. I'm probably going to make the 3rd Dragon Killer, and the 4th will obviously remain as a leader. Do I use them? Not really, but the Dragon Killers are kind of helpful. Like, it does really high amounts of damage to Dragon type encounters, so when I'm, say, helping Pancake play through Mirror Descended, I get 9 times damage against pretty much the entire dungeon. I do have a single Scarlet who has been hypermaxed. I actually have the full Scarlet system, but I just only put 1 as 297 because at the time I didn't have that many pluses, and to be fair, I don't have that many pluses anyways. I only have a couple of holders thanks to the Palette machine. I will also show you my teams as well, so you can get a better idea of where my cards are being used. Because yes, a lot of things are 297, but they're not necessarily being used because they've been older cards that have been somewhat cycled out. Because a great example of that is the Yumasachi Yamasachis. Like, I have an Awoken one, and I have a blue-green one. And that kind of goes in part with the coloring book Kali, who has Sharius inherited, like regular Sharius, so there's no hard rope spawn. And like, they're a fun team to play. It's clear to Reno 3 once. Like, it's not reliable by any means, but it's fun. I tend to have an excessive amount of blue 6-star Godfest exclusives, and I'll show you my 6-star Godfest exclusives later. In terms of wood, I have the Machine Athena, which I pied. I'm not going to farm that dungeon. That's just terrible. And I had like 40 or 50 wood piece, so it was no big loss to me. I have a bunch of Zeus Dioses, Diosi, and that used to be used with the Australis. However, I was blessed with a Lube in the most recent Godfest, and I now can have glorious push button farming. So I use the Dioses and any other wood card I need. Most notably, the most unusual one, I guess, would be this green light Parvati, who has the Devil Dragon Killer, which allows me to actually one-shot Zerog Infinity in SDR through his 75% damage reduction shield. She's also very pretty in this form, to be honest. I also have the Gunma for the Reincarnated Rod for cheesing through Machine Zeus. Again, it's a nice farmable monster. I had lots of SDRs from before. I farmed mainly with Sarasvati, and then Lupe is just easier. I basically went from this little dinky guy to this. Maybe it was my good luck charm, so I kept him around for that reason. There's a couple plus 8 holders. There's the Reincarnated Ra. I got the Venus, who has funny flamingos, not necessarily the prettiest thing. I feel that Venus, who is the goddess of love, should be a bit more lovely to look at and less flamingos or creepy babies. I have a Zira, who's max skilled. I don't know, I haven't really used it much, but it's good to have. I have a Miru, of course, with all the SDRs, and Sorry Inherited. There's a Valkyrie, and she was, I think, my third 297. I think Light Meta... No, she's my second 297. Light Metatron is my third. And Light Metatron is just been happily sitting away. I max skilled her, I don't know how I did that. I think she keeps getting micro buffs, and I keep reskilling her and just sits in my box. It just feels sad. Hasn't used it for like years. Sakuya is my first 297, and then Valkyrie, and then Metatron. And I basically relied on that team. There wasn't a Echidna, but then it got fed away for pluses at some point. I reskilled another one at a later date. I have an Elia from when I actually used Sakuya back in the day. There's the Wedding Izanami, who is quite powerful of a 4-star in all honesty. She was an amazing card before the Heartcross meta came out. So I didn't get actually much use out of her, unfortunately. And I have the 2 light Callies because those are pretty much the dream Sakuya subs. For Dark, I got the Yomi Dragon, which is my only Monster Point card I've ever purchased. I have around 600... I can just show you right here. I have actually 700 now. Oh wow, I passed 700,000 monster points, and I have nothing to spend it on because I'm lacking all the key cards for the other important teams. Maybe a Neptune Dragon is going to be purchased in the future because I actually do have a lot of water gods at least. I have a Zarek Infinity who was max skilled long before co-op. Like, I max skilled him when he first came out, so I got some use out of him. It was fun. It's a fun leader. I don't use him much anymore, mostly because I did pull an Eshamali at some point, and her active is pretty much superior in every way, so you tend to use her instead. I used Awoken Lucifer back in the day quite often. Now, rarely touch him, unfortunately. There's the Wedding. I finally rolled an Akachi, actually, after I don't know how many months after I got Lucifer. Like, I finally got Akachi like a month or 2 ago, and it's like, wow, finally. And it's kind of waiting for the Yomi Dragon's new evolution to be put to good use. And then I have other dark cards of the 297, mostly for Lucifer's sake, and I guess a bit of Yomi Dragon as well. And then I have like some plus 8 scattered here and there, but that's kind of the gist of it. In terms of other notable things in my monster box, I guess I can show you. I can show you about how many pies I have. Sometimes interesting. I used to have a lot more pies. Let's put it that way. So I only have 24 Flampies now. I used to have 50 plus, and then I rolled a Krishna, and then Gungo said just pie it. But I actually didn't. I didn't pie it. I actually pied like every other sub he had, so that was good there. There's 21 bub peas, 21 wood peas. I actually don't have that many of pies anymore. I only have 27 shine peas and 26 bad peas, so I'm actually pretty even. To be fair, I have been relatively I've pretty much been pieing every single card I own now at this point, because farming for skill ups is a bit less efficient now for me because I can clear Arena, even Arena 1, so easily, and Arena 1 at least ranks me up so I can continue playing, whereas skill ups and skill up luck is kind of, well, you know, not reliable, let's put it that way. In terms of my monster box, I like to sort by favorites, and I only favorite pies. Everything else is monsters that are notably important, so I'm just going to kind of scroll through them actually a little slower so you can just kind of take a glance and see what other cards I've ever acquired in my pad life. I usually also hold on to various Descend boss drops, and I have them evolved and ready to go in case there's a new Awoken evolution, and I require those cards. I'd rather just have them ready to use immediately, because sometimes I don't want to be, I'm sometimes impatient, I guess, that way, so I'd rather just plan ahead and then simply evolve right away, because it's just more fun that way for me, at least. I have all these ogres. I've, relatively speaking, max Awoken all the ogres of relevance, mostly for the old Goemon push-button team I used for farming Mech Dragon, because the ogres would one-shot all the floors. My wood boxes are relatively sparse. I don't have too many cards. There's like no Coyotes or Ranaves or Vishnus, so I'm missing quite a few of the big powerhouse wood cards. Got the Green Odin there. Has this little Tamadra baby equivalent. I like to keep evolved Tengus. Like you get them from super, you get them from Ultimate Yamato Rush, and they are pretty helpful to have around because they, um, well, they come evolved, so you can just feed them to themselves for free awakenings, and it's useful to have skill boost monsters at the ready. I have, again, more ogres. I have 3 Opharian parts. I have 2 heads and 1 the left leg. So I am quite a ways from one. Like I've only um, started farming Machine Zeus. It's not done yet. My skill up rate's kind of poor. It should have been done really by now, but my skill up rate hasn't been cooperative. And I have another one just lying around because why not keep a second one? I don't have a Raw Dragon. I don't think I ever will because there's no Dark Tallies or Canna. So it's just going to probably sit in my box in extra Machine Zeus unless I need it for some evolution in the future. I have Hathor, and she's one of the few inheritable gravities that are not really used much, so it's good to have her around, I find. I have the Arthurs for push-buttoning Starden. It's quite helpful. It just makes your life go a little faster. I got my Memorial Tamaja. As I said, I'm almost 1,200 days at this point in time. I have triple Sarias, because at least when I roll dupes, at least Saria is a good duplicate, and as you can see, all 3 of them have been actually inherited away, even though one's 297. It's just awkwardly, like, fully latent and whatnot. Maybe she gets a buff. I will use her as a sub. For now, she just inherited, unfortunately. I keep 2 Super Gold Kings in case an evolution needs them, more so when the Zeuses need them for weird, strange things. And I have the Reincarnated Hades. I just like the artwork. I don't know if I'm ever going to use it, but the artwork is pretty spectacular. I got a Lucifer very late into the game, way later than his heyday when I first started, when he was considered pretty much like the best card in the game. Like his team was unstoppable with his amazing 4 times health and 4 times recovery. But those are just dark days, I think, by comparison. I have 3 Zerag Infinities. I think, like, I have one obviously Pentamax. I have another one max skilled, because why not? Mostly from farming SDRs and Zerog as well. I acquired 2 max skilled ones, and I got a 3rd one made just to have around in case he's needed for an evolution. Like, if I do pick up Ragnarok Dragon in the future, at least I have the Zerag Infinity ready to go for his evolution. I keep a lot of Divine Queen Hairs evolved, just in case, again, they need it for an evolution. I got the rare Invade, whose name I can't pronounce. She's pretty. I probably will evolve her at some point. I don't think I'm ever going to level her or use her, but it's just nice to have, because again, trophies are kind of what we played this game for, in all honesty. I have the one true Doge. Maybe I'll tinker around with it in the future, but I doubt. Maybe with his reincarnated form and hits silly damage numbers. I have Satsuki there. Satsuki, like, is interesting. I'm kind of hoping they get an exciting evolution because they could be a very powerful card. Like, it'll be one of the stronger dark TPA monsters, and their active skill is unique. Like, it's much better than Castor because you don't break your hard orbs, and you still have the Jammer and Poison removal with haste. Not much else to see in my dark box, and then going down, just like random stuff. I keep all these Red Odin Tamadras in the vain hope I will actually get a Red Odin. It hasn't happened, but I'm not losing faith yet. I'll probably feed all those and pie it afterwards at that point. And then it's just more so like just random stuff I keep, like evolution materials, plus eggs that haven't been sorted or fused away, tans, latents, jewels, basically just regular evolution materials, like all the random miscellaneous stuff. I like to hoard things. That's partially why I have like a modestly large box at 1,210 spaces. So I guess one last thing to show is how many radar dragons I've acquired. So I have cleared Arena 3, I'm going to say more than 100 times because I'm quite sure it has been by now. And I've actually acquired all the radar dragons, but Hephaestus was the most problematic one ever. I got him actually on Christmas Day after acquiring 30 radar dragons beforehand. So he's my 31st radar dragon because randomness is apparently very random, and I couldn't actually acquire the Hippo Dragon to complete the collection at a much earlier date. So I have 10 Gaia Dragons because it's the most overly attached thing in the world. Thankfully, the teams I used to play Arena 3 can deal with Gaia relatively easily. And like I can beat Arena 3, I can acquire all the Radar Dragons, but I don't actually think I'm going to be playing with most of the Monster Point cards because, like I said, I'm missing most of the key important cards for it. But I guess if I ever bought more Yomi Dragons, I'd at least have extra Hera Dragons to go around. So let's look at my teams, because that I guess is probably something people want to see. So in slot 1, I potentially show a leader that I like to have up often, and it's not necessarily used all the time. Or more so it's used by lots of friends in case I'm playing other leaders. So usually it's Miru in this case, unless I'm playing with her. And I usually have my ID showing in slot 1. Oops, just leave it there. And yep. Slot 2 is basically just for best friends. Again, I cycle through various leaders so my best friends can benefit from them. Slot 3 is my Miracle team, and this is the team I use to farm Arena 3 with. My Krishna is, I guess I should show my setup, I guess. Some people might be interested. So I have the Shine Flare ring on Miru with 5 SDRs. Paimon has Shine Flare ring again with 5 SDRs. DQXQ 5 SDRs with another DQXQ inherited because duplicates are amazing. I have Reincarnate Venus with Saria again. Like I said, I inherit Saria everywhere I can. With only 3 SDRs, I kind of left 2 health. I didn't think I need any more SDRs. Maybe I will in the future, moving forward, but there's just so much recovery gained from the RCV latents for Venus just because she has the highest recovery in the game. And I have Light DQ for the recover binds, so I can clear binds for my team. And she has the Awoken Loki inherited. My next slot is Krishna, and Krishna has Awoken Sao Sao or Cow Cow, however you want to pronounce it, and it's basically just a way to upgrade his active. I have Erd with 2 Sonatas and a Yamato, so basically Erd with Auto Heal Awakening, so I had nothing better. Combos with Sonata for giant burst board damage, kills basically everything. It's about 14-ish million per card if I get 3 rows, 14 to 16. This is the team I use to farm SDR. I have a guide for all of them. In my corresponding written post, you can find links to all my other guides, but basically it's Awoken Yomi as the inherit, Zeus Dios, everything has 2 SDRs. I have Green Odin on Parvati, and then 2 SDRs again on the other Zeus Dioses, which are all 297 and max skilled. This is my Sarasvati team. I used Hera Is quite often still, surprisingly to this day, just to have gravity to push through resolve bosses. Most notably in Liberty Geist, I use Hera Is to basically chunk down the health of the boss with resolve, and I can kill him in one shot and not have to fear any retaliation. My Lakshmi team basically uses all the water 6 stars I've ever acquired and inherits them on top of each other because Ryune and Ryune. Blue Odin has, I guess, I in this case, more so because I has worse stats than Blue Odin for this team. And I have Andromeda of Sumire on Sumire because, again, duplicates are nice. This is just a random Lube team. I don't know what I use it for, but it's definitely a low skill cap team. This is the team I use when I want to bring lots of skill boosts into a dungeon. Basically, when I'm playing co-op myself, and the other side is the push button side, I basically bring in the Raw because it has a push button at least. That's the inherent for farming Machine Zeus. It's irrelevant. But I have like the Dark Metatron, Sarasvati, Tengu, and Yamato, all with at least 3 or more skill boosts because it complements my button team. Basically, it's just all the farmable buttons to push your way through Tamadra Infestation, pre-draws, and Tans if I do play Tans. Next is my Starden team, and this may seem unusual because I'm actually using a Zeus Dios, but it's because it's I feel a marginally faster team. I have to use 5 buttons anyways, no matter what. Like, yes, Goemon does have an active that does damage, but if it's a Blue Ogre, you actually have to think, like, oh, if it's a Blue Ogre, I can't use him. So what I do is actually I use Arthur on turn 1 to reset my health to 1, and then I use Bonefish. I could use another Bonefish, but I just like using Vitra because I have one and it's prettier. But basically I would use Arthur, then Bone or Devilfish. Devilfish if I want to use another one, and then Arthur again. And then Arthur actually augments balance type cards with his active skill. And because Zeus Dios is a balance type monster, you actually just one-shot the final floor. So basically, like, floor 1 is Arthur, Devil or Vitra, Arthur on 4, and then 5 is Dios Quick Swipe. This team is actually quite fast. You don't even need many pluses on your Zeus Dios if you use Arthur as your final button, because you have that bonus enhance, because it's 49 times, so much higher than Goemon, so you don't need an enhance. There's co-op boost, and there's actually a row and 2 orb enhances, so maybe marginal more passive damage, but definitely the co-op boost, and 49 times as well as the 2.5 times balance and enhance. This is the cheese team I use to farm Machine Zeus. I used to farm Machine Zeus with Sarasvati, and I switched to Raw because it's easier. And then last but not least is my rank 700, and it just looks pretty to put all my radar dragons there. So that is basically would conclude the box tour component of this video, and the rest of the video is going to be just kind of narrating and summarizing like the corresponding article I wrote alongside of this. So, like I said, rank 700 is quite a monumental task to achieve. Like, it does take a very long time, and maybe I haven't gone as fast as some people, maybe it's faster than others, but to be fair, you should go at your own pace. You want to enjoy the game, because this is, after all, a game, and you should be happy when you do play through it. So, most notable moments that I've had since my rank 6 to 700, I guess, time frame. So I basically hit rank 600 around July 22nd-ish or so, based on like previous postings I've had. And so it only took me like 5.5 months to actually get to 700. So I think that's reasonable progress. But to be fair, most of my progress has come from farming Arena 3, because basically since rank 612 when I got my first clear, I've been just spamming Arena 3 after that. And now I don't have a Ganesha, so I never actually pursue pure rank up experience. Like, if I rank up, it's just a collateral benefit from the dungeons I play. So like, it's mostly, like I said, being Arena 3. Now with the changes to Arena and the experience bonus they give, I haven't been playing them as much because I kind of transitioned away from it because I finished my collection on Christmas Day. So I've been mostly playing, like, say, SDR for stocking up on the skill delay resist to Madras, or trying to finish that machine Zeus up. So, in terms of most notable moments I can think of was Arena 3 and my first clear. So this video here was actually my second clear, actually. My first clear was done offline, and so it obviously wasn't recorded. So this is my first recorded 3 of Arena 3, and it took me 50 minutes from floor 17 and onward, because I was crazy paranoid. I had no idea what I was doing. It was a brand new dungeon, and it was exciting. So it was a 50-minute video for floors 17 plus. And nowadays, I can go through Arena 3 in sometimes like 30 minutes for the entire dungeon. So I'm much faster now, I'm much more confident, and my team is significantly stronger, because before, I was using that Saria you saw as a base, but I also had Apollo as a sub, and Apollo is obviously not an ideal card because he breaks hard orbs. So I have been diversifying the teams I've used to clear Arena 3. You can read about them more in the post here, but in case you're just wondering, it's been mostly Miru, there's been quite a bit of Krishna, there's been a couple of Lakshmis, and one Yumisachi Yamasachi. But the link here will take you to the full team breakdown, roster, latent setup, and thought process behind it. So when playing Arena 3, one of the main goals is acquiring the radar dragons. And there are a total of 5 that you are able to collect and acquire. And for myself, I'm not necessarily the luckiest person, unfortunately, and it took me over 100 clears and my 31st radar dragon to drop before I got Hephaestus, or Hippo Dragon, who was the bane of my existence for a couple of months because he would never spawn and never drop when he did spawn. So I had some nightmares about hippos. I used to say all I want for Christmas is a hippopotamus. It was a crazy time back then. But I got it on Christmas Day, amusingly, so I guess my wish did come true. And amusingly enough, I had 10 Gaia Dragons before I had a Hephaestus. So that, take what you may from that. But most people, like, in theory, should get your collection after maybe, I don't know, like 50-odd clears. So I took a bit longer. So other notable moments were new cards I've acquired. Now, I'm not very lucky, like I've mentioned before, and it definitely shows in my rolling videos, because I do tend to roll across multiple accounts. That way you get a longer and more exciting video to watch. But the rolls are all quite depressing, to say the least. Like, in terms of new cards that I've acquired in the last like 5.5 months or 100 ranks, the only notable ones I can really think of are Krishna, Liu Bei, Ra, surprisingly, and Paimon. Now, Krishna was used to actually give me another endgame team I could play, but Mirror is just superior in pretty much every way possible, unfortunately. So it's just nice to take a break from Mirror, but it doesn't necessarily add any dimension to my box, because it's another endgame leader that doesn't necessarily excel in one particular category. Like, for instance, Sarasvati excels at giant burst damage, whereas obviously Miru is endgame content. Lakshmi is very fast and easy to play and relatively unconditional. So Krishna doesn't necessarily add much to my box. It's just another team to play through. Liu Bei basically is the most glorious push button farmer possible. So it basically allowed me to unlock a new farming potential, because before I would have to do Australis paired with Liu Bei, and it was only used for like just trivial content when I wanted to dump stamina. Now I can farm hard stuff like special descend rush for this SDR Tamadras. Raw is basically the first inheritable push button option I have, so it is meaningful because now I have a way to inherit something to deal true damage to high defense monsters with a status void shield, and furthermore it gives me a new opportunity to farm for Machine Zeus, because beforehand I used to actually use Sarasvati, which is a bit more risky by comparison. And last but not least is Paimon, and Paimon, like, it was basically an improvement for my mirror team, but it's not my most desirable sub. I'd rather have a Wukong, to be honest, because Paimon actually did replace my Apollo, because Apollo, like I said, is a Heartbreaker on a Heartcross team, so it's not as efficient. And Paimon basically replaced Apollo and had better stats, but unfortunately Paimon gives me too many orb enhances, so it makes Parvati more frustrating in Arena. So he is a new card that I got, but it wasn't the most helpful. And when I think about it, like, they're nice cards, but like it feels a little sad because that's kind of all I've rolled in the past 5.5 months, or 200 plus or 100 or so ranks. Like, there's not much. I didn't really roll much, and to be honest, it's partially because of my 6-star Godfest exclusive luck. I tend to not be able to pull very well, and when I do pull a 6-star, it's a duplicate of an older water god, usually. Because I only actually own 12 6-star Godfest exclusives, and maybe that may seem like a lot, but it's actually not very much for someone in terms of my level of progression and time invested into this game, because they should be more common, at least, especially in the more recent Godfest, but I still never pulled any Kaedes, Dark Callies, Canas, and I am unable to basically play all the exciting teams. There's no Ronave either, so basically I'm kind of resigned to playing Miru for the foreseeable future unless something truly magical happens. But maybe Yomi Dragon will give me something. At least I have the Eshimali for it. But like, people might look at my box and say, oh look, there's Ryune's Blue Sonya, Blue Odin, Dark Metatron. You have an Aizen team. But there needs to be an Aizen to actually use it. So no, it's not happening. And I guess kind of the last notable moment is just clearing all content. I have basically cleared, well, not basically, I have cleared all the current content of the game. So I'm just basically impatiently waiting for new content to be released. And it is kind of partially a goal of mine to like stay abreast of all the power creep in terms of dungeons and content. So I guess that is an achievement for myself. So future Puzzle and Dragon goals. So basically, Puzzle & Dragons is an interesting and unique game because it doesn't have a true end or completion when you compare it to, say, other games. Like, they have storylines, you complete the game, and it's kind of over. Whereas Pad, you never really complete it, and you need to set yourself goals, or at least I need to set myself goals to keep myself motivated to keep playing and moving forward. Naturally, running the website I have is a goal in itself, but it's more so what goals do I have to keep playing Puzzle & Dragons. So, right now, I feel like Pad's a bit of a stale spot, mostly because there's very little endgame content right now for like the, I guess the elite players, if you may. Because right now, we haven't had really much things released that we would want to play. Like, yes, playing Arena 3 is challenging, but once you've played it and cleared it over 100 times, it's a little repetitive, even though it is a randomness dungeon. And it's going to stay that way until they start adding in the invades for the new latent Tamadras, so that will be more motivation to play Arena 3 when that does occur. But for now, I'm mostly using Arena 3 as a way to dump stamina. Well, not dump stamina, but like to efficiently rank up when I play other stuff. But it is unfortunate, like, they're not necessarily catering to content for like the end-to-end game player, which I feel is a bit unusual because when you think about it, generally speaking, those at the pushing end game content are possibly the ones who are also funding the game, because those players tend to invest a lot of time and monetary resources into this game. So I feel like they need to push out more endgame content for people to experience, and there's still obviously plenty for newer people to play, but I guess maybe with the one-shot challenge they are giving a bit of a tease for it. But for myself, the one-shot challenges featuring the Radar Dragons are not exceptionally challenging enough for me, at least. So at least things to keep me interested, and what I'm kind of waiting for is the new Coliseum to be released. And the Coliseum is basically, would be almost renamed as, say, Arena 4, but it's not Arena. But the point being is Coliseum will be the most challenging dungeon to be released. It will feature like new bosses, like Orpharion in his Evolve form, which is a crazy boss that requires a very exotic and complicated team setup to take down efficiently. Just lots of gravities, big burst, high combos. Like, it's a lot of interesting mechanics in there. Furthermore, they actually have a lot of high combo count absorption shield, so heart cross leaders are going to have a bit more trouble by comparison to before, especially Miru, because I would have to heart cross and row, and it's going to be very hard to hit enough combos in most scenarios. So it is kind of like my main motivation factor to keep playing the game is waiting for that Coliseum to be released, and in the meantime I'm mostly just continuing to rank up to get more max stamina, acquiring plus eggs because I kind of neglected it, and I guess hoarding up SDRs because you never can have enough, and also I want to have enough in the hopes that I actually acquire a new card that's useful, that deserves it. So right now, like I said, I've been farming SDRs. I guess that farms pluses along the side of it, as well as farming Machine Zeus. And I actually used Sarasvati for both SDR farming and Machine Zeus before I got Lube and Ra. So I guess as a kind of a change, I'm using more efficient leaders for clearing those dungeons. So it's what I've been doing mostly to keep busy, as well as streaming. But streaming, like I try and do some Arena 3 clears because again, it allows me to rank up and keep playing longer. And now I come to like the next section. This is kind of like a frustrating topic for myself, and it's really the need to roll better cards, because I'm in a little bit of a slump in terms of rare machine development, because gaining access to Mirror, basically giving players access to Mirror was, I think, one of the best moves for Puzzle and Dragons and Gung Ho. A lot of people are giving a lot of flack saying like a farmable card shouldn't be so strong. But to be fair, a farmable card is great to have because it gives everyone at least the chance to play challenging content. You still need rare machine cards to function optimally. But the point being is if you don't have a strong enough leader, it doesn't matter what cards you can clear or farm, you won't be able to push yourself further into endgame content. So giving people access to an endgame leader, I think was great because it gives everyone something to look forward to in terms of when they're starting out the game. Your goal becomes, can I farm a mirror up? You may or may not have the team, but at least it's accessible to everyone. And the same can be almost said for Monster Point Dragons, except Monster Point Dragons, while farmable, have quite steep sub-requirements, so they're not really as accessible overall by comparison. And like I said, one nice thing about Miru is the fact that they're not solely reliant on 6-star Godfest exclusives. Like if you look at, say, Raw Dragon teams, it's 2 Dark Callies, Cannas, with Dark Callies as inherits, and Gemstone Princesses. Basically like all the 6-star things you could ever imagine. Probably Lightnings for the Raw Dragon if you want to have a board change. Like the point being is, it's a crazy expensive team to form, and hardly anyone can. And it can be annoying to have that being one of the strongest teams, because how many people are actually able to form it, reasonably speaking? But for myself, like I'm forced to a certain extent to use Miru to clear the hardest content. Like I try and diversify when possible, but Miru just is the strongest leader right now for me, and it's probably going to remain that way for the foreseeable future, unless I, like I said, roll something amazing. And at least for myself, like I put a lot of time into this game. Like I'm pretty gung-ho about it. I play a lot, and I use my knowledge and invest into my website to share that knowledge with people. But unfortunately, my real-life situation doesn't allow me to IAP or purchase magic stones, because basically all the money I ever have goes into medical expenses because I have severe issues with my back and neck. I've explained that in the past. Maybe I'll explain that more later on. But the point being is, any external stones I do gain are from donations or gifts from people, and while they are greatly appreciated and helpful, it doesn't necessarily correct my bad luck when rolling, because I just fail to roll happy cards. Like, you watch my rolling videos, like I will roll silvers and just the silly gold eggs, not Godfest exclusives during those 5 times events. The 10 stone rare machine, I didn't get a single 6-star. So it's just a strange place for me to be in, because I'm kind of like, I love the game a lot, I'm playing it often, I write about it, I help people, but I just can't help myself. Like, I'm not skilled enough to roll good cards. And it kind of gives me a bit of less motivation almost to create content, because I'm doing all this research and acquiring knowledge through secondhand sources. I can't do it by playing it out myself. And it can be a little frustrating because I'm like sitting on the sidelines seeing like all these fun, exciting things, thinking, I have the skill to play those teams, but I just don't have the cards to do so, and it just can be a little frustrating for me at this point. So I hope my luck does turn around in the near future in terms of health and pad, of course. But in regards to like the heavy 6-star dominance being pushed out by Gung Ho, I feel that's an unhealthy strategy to take, because you're giving too much power to the 6-stars and not enough power to any other category, whether it's Pantheons, farmable, 5-star Godfest exclusives, or Monster Point cards. Because when teams need only 6 stars, it's too hard to form, and 6 stars, because they're so unique, there's no viable alternative by comparison. So I think it's not an ideal direction where the game is going, and I hope they kind of shift the focus a bit more back to the other cards, because if you look at it from a couple of years ago, Pantheon cards and 5 stars were great, and 6 stars were good too, but they weren't so amazingly stronger by comparison. Like 5 stars and Pantheons could at least keep up, and even farmables, but now they're really lacking compared outside of mirrors. So I hope Gung Ho starts at least rebalancing that power distribution. So in conclusion, like, Puzzle & Dragons is still my favorite game to play. I've played this game for, like I said, nearly 1,200 days. I've sunk in countless hours, like playtime hours, into like the game and my website. So I'm still enjoying it. I'm still going forward. I hope they do release new content sooner, as well as kind of normalizing the, I guess, power distribution between 6 stars and other cards. But for now, I'm just going to keep farming those +8s to hopefully get those Maniac quests completed, and maybe get Tomadras alongside, but I need like 700 more, so I don't even think I have enough cards to give 700 Awakenings to. But that's, again, it's goals to have in the game. So let me know what you think about like Puzzle & Dragons right now. Like, I'm probably going to be writing a post in the very near future about kind of what I hope PAD releases in this coming year, because it's good to like maybe like anticipate things, or maybe just brainstorm at things that maybe Gung Ho will listen, probably won't, but it doesn't hurt to have it out there. So like, let me know what keeps you motivated to play Puzzle & Dragons. Like, how long have you played? How many ranks have you acquired? And how much you enjoy the game? I'm hoping it's still lots. So hopefully you all have a mantastic day, and happy puzzling!